When you will get in your interactions, when you're talking with someone, you have to see it exactly like here when we talked about the different steps. And I told you that with each step, it's as if the first one is still here, but now you have something else to consider. Here is the same. When you're interacting with someone, there is still your happiness to take into account, but then now there is as well their happiness. And you want to harmonize this together, which starts by having your happiness harmonized and then focusing on their happiness. As we saw, you can't build power to improve their happiness if you don't already have power that you build through going selfish. You have to go selfish to build power to then being able to influence their happiness. But actually you have to be strategic about that, because if you stay focused on your inside, you will actually be so inefficient on the outside that it will create conflict in you. So that will be a paradox. If you're talking with someone and you're in your thought thinking about your inner psychology, you might look weird on the outside and you will see it, and thus you will feel awkward, and thus it will fuck up your inner psychology. So it might not be the best strategy. Focusing on your inner psychology is good before you approach. And even that, we say that sometimes if there is pressure around, you might start to feel weird. So you want to balance it with actually acting to build force so that you get to the Spartan state eventually. But even before that, just actually not focusing on your inner happiness might be the way to optimize your inner happiness. Because if you focus on it, it might have bad consequences on the interaction with others, which will then fuck up your inner happiness. So once you're in interaction, there is this paradox that you want to be focused on your happiness first, because this is how you build power. But in order to do that, you have to first focus on something else, right? This is why between the two, between your happiness and their happiness, there is, we will call that the ground of the interaction. This is what you will have to make sure you can do first, so that you have a solid ground for your interaction, so that you can then focus on inside without fucking up the perception that people have of you. And this ground, basically, this is what we've seen in the masterclass. Just being able to just have a simple conversation, small talk, normal conversation, being able to do that. You forget about your inner space, you forget about them, just focus on this game, conversation. When you play chess, you're not thinking about your inner world, you're not thinking about their inner world. You're focused on the game, which happens in the middle, not in you, not in them. You could argue that, but you get my point. So you will have to have this ground solid before you build anything more. If you can't do that, if you can't just have a normal conversation, then the only alternative for you is to actually do more advanced stuff. For example, I talked about the fact that once you're very good at conversation, what you might become interested in is actually playing with even awkwardness, or playing with more advanced stuff, like not even talking, going into the deeper levels of communication where there is no word, just looking at the person. Or it can be very weird if you don't have experience in it. It's pretty advanced way of communicating, and actually this is kind of the only alternative that you have, or only cracking jokes, or I don't know, but it's gonna be pretty advanced way of communicating. And even if you can do that, how much is it going to be stressful, the idea that your ground is a high-level performance? You don't have a ground for your interaction, which is low-level performance. This is going to be stressful. What I mean by your ground is the lower level of efficiency to which you can get in your interaction, which is still making it great, which is still making it good. Your ground is just having a normal fucking conversation. This is why you need to have practice for 1 fucking month, the exercises of the masterclass conversation, so that this ground, you have it, you know how to do it. It can become automatic in your mind, right? And remember what I told you, the go-to, the shortcut before going in an interaction is to think about your part of your map of identity, that you think about them as well by symmetry. Your brain will want to know, to fill the gap, and thus it's aligned with that. It's about creating a solid ground which requires no level of performance and which is fine. and it will give happiness to you, happiness to them, but most of the time nothing more. You will become friends. That's what will happen. But at least you have a ground which will allow you to build upon it. So when you're in your interactions, before going in the interaction, you do what we've seen in the previous parts, and once you're in it, you're going to stack up actually actions. What we've seen before going in interaction was stacking up things in your mind, which are actually imaginary actions. So this is still actions, but imaginary. Now you're in the interaction, you're going to do the same, but with real action. But we have to be strategic about it, because if we choose any kind of action, it might actually be counterproductive. The first step is this, just being able to have this solid ground. If you're not capable of doing that, you're completely losing your time if you're trying to go for more, or even using your routine or whatever. I know that some colleagues of mine might get angry at this statement, but I really believe that this is how the way it should be done, really. In my experience, this is what brings the most holistic results, is to think about it this way. If you are not capable of just having a basic conversation, there's no fucking point in trying to do more than that. There's no point. It's going to collapse. It's going to collapse. You're going to be like all those fucking guys in the dating community who even have been approaching women for years and they are still not that attractive. There is still, it just doesn't work in a way. It just doesn't work. They get results, but you can see from the outside that it's like bullshit results. It's not the real kind of result that you want. And I believe the reason why is because they are using strategies that completely lack this holistic way of thinking about it. It's like they're using a system, but which is just one way of perceiving the interaction, and this is very rigid and they are stuck in it. And you can see from the outside they are stuck in this way of doing it. That's not what you want. That's not what you want. So let's have a more holistic way of seeing it, and instead of sticking to one system, let's study how all the systems are going to be like. And so now you can use any direction you want. So very flexible. And it starts with this, with having this ground, being able to just have a normal conversation. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy, just this. And it works, it looks normal. Which doesn't necessarily mean just doing small talk, because I'm including captivation and humor. So it will be a mix of small talk, conversation about your maps of identity, humor, laughing about stuff, and just basically just being a good conversationalist. Just that, I swear, just being capable to approach women in, let's say, even in the street, and being able to do that, you're outsmarting, you're outgaming most of the other guys in the community, really, who are coming with their techniques and their, okay, I'm going to make her chase me and whatever. You just approach her, and you're capable of having a normal fucking conversation, which is a bit fun, a bit captivating. You have this connection by sharing your map of identity. Dude, you get more result than them, I swear. This is the way to go about it. I'm not kidding. Let's not make it complicated. Look how it's made. All that you've seen in this product looks fucking complicated, right? It looks fucking complex. But at the end, I'm saying you, well, just have normal conversation. Seems paradoxal. Yeah, because we are building extreme simplicity, but from an extremely complex system. This is what we want, actually. The goal of high-level complexity is to bring to life extremely efficient simplicity. That's the goal. And that's why you're going to be way more efficient than all other guys, really. It's because you will have this system which leads you to extremely simple actions. Simple. But because you have all this background of understanding from which this simple strategy is born, it will be fucking efficient. Simple, but very efficient. Because this simplicity born from complexity. So you get the result of complexity by simple action, because simple action comes from complexity. So just focus on that in your interaction. Once you have that going, right? When this is going, you have some momentum. This is automatic to the point that you have some new psychological spaces in your mind which starts to come, which means that you In your subjective experience, what it means is that you can start to think while you're doing it. You're not just completely focused in the conversation. You're focused in the conversation, but you can, in parallel, think about strategies and stuff like this, right? It will be as if you're playing chess. So you're fighting in one place of the board with your partner, but at the same time, you have a space in your mind which can think of, okay, and the other pieces in the board, what can I do with them? But at the same time, you're playing the fight here. So here you're having your normal conversation, basic, that you've been practicing at home. That's why you need to practice at home the skill, so that this is done, you have your ground. And really, I know that for most guys, just having this ground is worth a lot of fucking money, actually. I would have paid thousands of euros really to have just this ground, which works. Really, it was a life goal for me. But now this is just a ground, we're going to build upon it. And this is where levels of consciousness come into place. This is basically levels of consciousness. You will have one part of your mind which takes care of this basic level conversation. And then because you go up the levels of consciousness, right, you will have new spaces in your mind which comes and can start to take part in the game. Like new kids coming like, hey, I want a game. I want to play the game with you guys. Okay, you're taking care of the conversation. Well, I'm going to think about how you could escalate. How could we escalate? Oh, she said that. You could say that now. And so you'll be focused on your conversation. There will be another part of your brain which is like, let's think about how to escalate. Oh, okay, this idea is great. And now you will stack up. You will put new steps. So you have your ground. And above that, then you will add escalation and stuff like this. Escalation, VIHC, which is actually comprised in the conversation. Building up your Spartan state by taking a risk. Alternating between calibration after the fact and calibration before the fact. You will have these mental spaces free to think about it. But for this to happen, the ground must be solid. It must be stable. It must be already going in automatic. Unless you're having this conversation with someone and it's just going in automatic mode, you don't even have to think about it. And you just have the ideas of what to say that come. Unless you have that, there's no point in putting more. That's what you should be working on. And then by focusing on it, at some point you will have short-term momentum of actually having it in automatic mode. And then in those moments you will be able to practice adding escalation, whatever, right? And so actually when I said, for example, that you want to escalate from the start in your interaction, this is the kind of advice that comes after this. This is the kind of thing that you're going to do if you're only confident that you have a solid ground and you're going to put that upon. You see the idea? Anyway, I bet you, if you're not confident that you're going to be able to just have normal conversation, your mind is going to not want to go in the interaction and escalate from the start. It's not going to let you it because it's going to say, well, bro, if it goes wrong, you're fucked, bro. You're not even capable of having normal conversation right now. Don't take so much risk. It's going to be fucked up and you're going to feel so much resistance. Unless you're in the fucking Spartan state, you will not do it. So there's no risk about that. It comes after. You build it slowly. For example, something that can happen and that still happens to me if I've not talked to someone for a long time. Let's say you have a date with a woman. It happened to me a couple of times ago, I think 2 months ago. It was lockdown of COVID. I was focused on my research and my serious life about work. I was not thinking too much about women. And then I had this woman I was talking with on my phone. And we happened to meet. So she came at my house directly. We've never met before. And I felt kind of awkward because it's been a long time. It's been like more than a month I didn't talk to a woman, to someone else than my parents, or to people actually, very little. So she arrived and I felt, a bit awkward. And I could see that she felt a bit awkward as well because, well, we've talked about it. Women, most of the time, they're going to be awkward because they don't have to face the same problems that you have to face. Well, go ask a woman to approach people like that. She's going to be terrified. You will see, unless she's drunk, but you will see they get more awkward than us men. So it will happen. And I saw that, but actually that's not a problem. I really don't see it as a problem. I just thought, well, we'll just wait for the ground to be stable, and then we'll start to build the rest. So, well, I just made her talk, just small talk like this, little and little. We exchange about our life. I add some humor. And then when I see that I get some short-term momentum, like a spike of consciousness, you will see that you have like some spikes of consciousness. You see, oh well, right now, you don't know why, for 1 second you feel it, you're aware of it, you have a spike of consciousness, while you see that you can handle more things. You're like, oh, right now I feel like I could handle more. And so in this moment, I will stack up new things. I will go to the next step. So for example, I will escalate. I remember I did something like, I think I was standing up, I took her hand, I made her stand up, I put my hand on her back here, and I took her close, looking at her straight in the eyes. I think that's what happened. She was shocked, like, wow, I didn't expect that. And she loved it. And then, yeah, the spike of consciousness got back down, so we just kept going with normal conversation. So you're just waiting for the momentum to come, for the ground to be stable. When you have a spike of consciousness, you can go to the next step. And when it goes back down, you go back to the previous step, right? And you wait for it to build and be stable. Now, when you have those moments, may they be spike or may they be stable, those moments when you go up the threshold of just normal conversation. Okay, right now I feel the conversation is being handled and I feel that I could handle even more. For example, escalation, basically. Now the third thing you will want to do is, look, this is the principle of holistic thinking, is that when you do one thing, you think about the impact it has on all the other things. And what I found out is that the optimal way to think about the second step after that is to think about your happiness, right? Is to think about it. As we talked about, you have to go to selfishness. But there is two steps in your happiness to make it work. Let's view it this way. I tell you, okay, now focus on your happiness, be selfish. Just do whatever you want and don't give a shit about what she thinks or whatever, right? In the limits of respect and of ethic, of course, but you get the idea. But now you're going to tell me, all right, but I just don't even have idea of what I can do that would make me happy. I just don't have idea. And so even before being able to face even this issue of doing things that you want to do, doing things that would make me happy, independently of what you would think of it, even before having this issue, you have to fix the issue of even having ideas of the thing to do, right? And this is the second step. This is to fix that. Then we can go to the third step, which is doing them. Basically, you've already some part of it in the masterclass conversation. It's about calibration after action. You have to lower your threshold, remember. So you will have your conversation, and actually this is like here, this is the same. Look, while you're doing action in your head, you're thinking about this polarity and you alternate between them. In your interaction, you have to be doing the same. As you're having your conversation, you're thinking about alternating between calibration after action and before action. However, this requires a little more consciousness than the step one. Step one is when you just have enough consciousness to just think about the conversation, thinking about the ground. So it implies that you don't even have enough consciousness to think about, well, do I calibrate after action? Do I calibrate before action? Complicated, right? And so basically most of the time what will happen is that you'll be stuck in calibration before action, because by default you don't want to take risk. So you're going to be in calibration before action. Now you have a bit more consciousness that comes. Calibration after action. Motherfuck, you're going to focus on that. Calibration after action. As soon as you have a bit more consciousness that appears to be able to think about just one more thing than the conversation that's going on, use it to think about, okay, I'm going to do calibration after action. So you're going to keep having your conversation going and, well, going to be like, okay, let's take a bit more risk now. Basically, that's what it means, calibration after action. Well, let's take a bit more risk. Let's think less before talking. Or maybe if it's the opposite, if you notice that you're talking too much or whatever, basically what you do in this moment when you have this higher level of consciousness that comes is that you're going to watch, you're going to take distance from the perspective, meta-awareness. You're going to look, well, am I being polarized in calibration after action or in calibration before action? Sometimes, for example, if you're very stressed, what might happen? That you will be like, and you don't think before you talk. Just, and you have this phenomenon when you just talk too fast, right? In this case, you're polarizing calibration after action. And it's not even that you're polarizing calibration after action, it's just that you don't want to wait before talking because you think it's going to be problematic. However, in this case, when you have more consciousness, you're going to do the opposite. Okay, let's calibrate before action. Let's take more time. So, well, yeah, that's the second step. Ground, first step, up, step 1, 2, it's that. Okay, calibration before action, calibration after action. Once this is done, you're going to be even more specific. If even this is going now and you're getting more consciousness to think about something else, right? And also you're capable of managing this different polarity, you need to put a bit of force here. Because now, because your level of consciousness is so low, you can't access power to allow you to just do it without effort. You don't have this mental space, so you will just have to force yourself into doing it. And so two things might happen. Either you will not succeed to handle it, and so you're going to focus on the negative outcome that might happen. And thus it will polarize back your consciousness and you will go back in level of consciousness. But it's good, you will just have to rebuild it. In the long term, it makes you evolve, it makes you more alpha. Do not give a shit about that. Either it's even going to help you to get unpolarized, so it's good, and you will get more consciousness from it. You're going to be like, oh, fuck it anyway, and then you're not going to give a shit, so you get more consciousness. Or either it actually works, you do it, you change your polarity of calibration, and actually good shit come out of it, and so good. Now, no matter what happens within those three patterns, as soon as you get to the next level of consciousness where you now can think about even more than alternating between polarities of calibration, now you will have third step, which is that thanks to the second step, you have more ideas that come in your mind, okay? You have way more ideas. We talked about it in the masterclass conversation. You have way more ideas, so now you have a lot of ideas that come into your mind about what you could do that would make you enjoy, what you could say, but it has more and more risk, right? And actually alternating between the polarities of calibration is not going to be enough to deal with it. So now you have to go to the root of the resistance. That will be the technique you'll be using. You'll be thinking about, well, for example, you have an idea that comes in your mind, which is maybe escalation or whatever. Most likely that's what's going to happen at this point. You'll be thinking about escalation or maybe making some risky joke or I don't know, whatever. But you're still like, well, it's way too risky. What you will do is that you will take, because now you have even more consciousness, you have a new space available to think while the step 1 and 2 are still running. You have a new space in your mind that appears. We can look at a meta perspective of what's going on and be like, okay, so I have this idea which could be good, this one as well, but those one, I'm afraid of doing them. Why? What is it I'm being afraid of? And then, well, go back to the video about getting to the root of the resistance if you want more about this. You will do the exchange. Okay, I'm aware that I'm being afraid of looking weird. I'm afraid of looking like a bad guy or whatever, someone bad. Okay, you will be afraid of those things. I'm afraid to look obnoxious, right? And so now what are you going to do? Well, this is where it gets funny. This is where it gets really cool. That you're doing this in your interaction and you already have momentum. At this point, your conversation is going and you're alternating between the types of calibration. You're already having momentum. What's funny is that just by thinking about the idea of doing the thing that you're afraid of, what's going to happen is that you're going to access neighborhoods of this idea. And because you already have momentum of conversation, it's going to interconnect with the conversation. And so the mere fact of thinking, oh, I'm afraid of that, for example, I'm afraid of looking weird. Could I do it? The simple fact of thinking of it, why not just do something that makes me look weird? It will make your mind go into this neighborhood, which will interconnect with the conversation, that you already have momentum, and it will give you new idea that you couldn't have before. That now will be aligned with the things that you would like to do, but you are too afraid to do. Like, for example, this is the kind of moment where you will be shocked because you will be like, fuck, I want to escalate now. And you will get closer. You will look at her in a different way. You will love it most of the time. And you'd be like, fuck, it worked. I just thought about the idea and you can see, you will see it in your mind, the idea interconnecting and hop. And now you're like, oh, now I have a lot of ideas about how to escalate, how to make this kind of joke that I couldn't have before because I was afraid of it. It's a kind of a trick. It works. It really works. But for that to work, you have to make it come in your mind. It will not come by itself. You have to consciously, from this new space available, think, well, what could I do right now that would make me look weird? Or would make you look like an obnoxious guy? And you really have to think about it in parallel of the rest. And this thinking will interconnect with the other thinking in parallel, and then it will come in conversation in ways that are amazing. Basically, it's unpolarizing you. That's what you want. You want as well before the conversation, but as well during the conversation, to always have some part of your psyche keeping track of, am I getting polarized? What am I getting polarized around? What would be conflictual with the thing I'm getting polarized? What am I afraid of, basically? What could I do that would make that happen? And just by thinking and just by searching for those type of things, it will interconnect with the conversation and give you new ideas. It works. It really works. That's crazy. Insane how well it works. Try it. But first you need to have your ground stable, and then the second step. So it would be root of resistance. And well, in order to optimize that, maybe you've already thought about it. The root of the resistance, you're going to apply it to happiness hubs. You need to have this list really clear in your mind. You need to know them, the happiness hubs, so that when you are at this third step, you can think, well, what are the happiness hubs? What are the one I'm not doing properly now? Why am I afraid of doing them? And you apply going to the root of the resistance to those happiness hubs. You do it this way. In this way, it's optimized. So basically, you just have your list of happiness hub in your mind. You have this meta-awareness of the conversation, and you're like, okay, what are the happiness hub I'm not doing, right? Why am I afraid of doing them? It requires awareness. Meditation will help you. Controlled circulation at home will help you with that. Get better at awareness of your own psychology. And then you just apply this third step, and it works. It really works. You will see. It's insane. It's insane. And when I say happiness hub, sexualization is inside, right? It's part of it. And it's one of the most important if you're talking with a woman. Or I mean escalation. Call it sexualization or escalation, however you want. You get the point. And as you're seeing already, here is again the pattern of controlled circulation, controlled psychological circulation. With the ground, you're creating a lot of elements. You're trying to combine them together, because that's conversation. It's creating a lot of elements and creating a complex structure from them, complex set, right? The second point will help you with contraction, because when you do calibration before action, you're doing retention, right? That's what you're doing, taking more time before going to the next elements. Third one would be like going up the level of polarization, becoming conscious of what you're polarized in, getting to those levels and seeing what's going on there. So basically it's respecting controlled circulation now. We've just emulated controlled circulation in a conversation. And now from that, basically you're enjoying. Your happiness is optimized, right? Now from that, it starts to focus on their happiness, on what's going on their side, right? Basically, it's pretty simple. Look, from there, you're already having the conversation, which is interesting. You're already doing the happiness hub, which are optimized, basically to optimize your happiness and her happiness toward escalation. You are happy. So you have the meta happiness container for her, which is that you are in a happy creative field. Well, there's already a lot going on, not only to make her happy, but in the right direction. Upon that, it will be simple from there. It will be a mix between VIHC and entropy. This is very, very easy. This is a form of calibration before action and calibration after action. See it this way up. Calibration before action, calibration after action. Calibration before action will basically be trying as much as you can from your actual mental modelization of what this girl is like, as you have to guess. Right? From this modelization, trying to give her what she wants. So basically it will be a mix between VIHC, I will put it here, HC because it comes here, and even here we will see after. And actually you're also using them in the ground, because as we said, it interconnects with your map of identity, but maybe if you don't have enough consciousness at this point, it will only come after. So maybe the IHC will only come at the fourth step, or if you can before, do it, but maybe it will come only at the fourth one. Those the IHC plus the happiness hub and the conversation. Look, this is basically how you're trying to give her happiness. Show her that there's happiness for her. Now what will happen is that as you act, that you want it or not, sometimes there will be, look, like this. You're trying to make the conversation evolve, and there will be some blocks. You will see you have to use your social intelligence. You will see facial expression, whatever, or maybe she will say something. You need to have social intelligence about that. You will have doubt that actually something is wrong. She's not drawing happiness. Or maybe she was, but now that you're going further, for example, you're escalating, you're pushing it, now you will see there is a wall. And now this is calibration after action. You've made it, you've talked about some topics, you've behaved in a way, you've escalated physically, however, and you see that she doesn't like it. She's not drawing happiness from here. Well, now comes calibration after action. You couldn't manage your calibration before action in a way that no blocks are going to come, because obviously one block has come. So you have attained the limit of your calibration before action. Now it's calibration after action. You've hit the block. Now calibration after action. Basically, this part is about entropy. It's about clearing entropy. You have to clear the entropy in your head, which means that you don't really know why exactly she's not enjoying it. And so basically what you will do to clear it is meta comments, which is basically talking about the interaction, taking a meta perspective and talking about the interaction. And this is up to you however you do it. Be creative about it. Basic example would be that you're just going to take a meta perspective and talk about what's going on. You're going to verbalize it. Verbalize the fact that you see that she's not drawing happiness from what you just did or whatever, and you don't know why. You're going to verbalize it, and you don't know why, and you want to know why. And you do however you want to verbalize it. Be creative, like every time. Now, either she's not going to tell, and then, well, there is entropy again. You don't know why she doesn't want to tell. You have to guess. And most of the time when this happens, what it means is that actually either she's not interested, either it's something she's ashamed of. Basically, it's the two reasons why. She's not interested, so she just doesn't want to be mean with you or whatever. Or either she's interested in you, but it's something she's ashamed of. Or something she's afraid of sharing. But she likes you anyway. In both cases, your best interest is to actually keep investigating to know why there is a block. Because if she's not interested, then you're just fucked. Because you will go back to, for example, lower levels of escalation, and you'll be like, well, okay, I'm just going to wait. But no, it's not going to change anything. The problem is that she's not interested. You will just get friend-zoned if you do that. If you just go back and wait and stay with normal conversation, you will get friend-zoned. You're fucked. So this is not the situation you want. The other case scenario, she doesn't tell you because, well, she's ashamed of it or she's afraid of saying it. Well, actually, remember how happiness works. She's having a suffering container here. So her mind is polarized around it. To give her more happiness, you have to help her unpolarize her mind from this suffering container. How do you do that? You deal with it by keeping going with her. You insist a bit about knowing what it's about. That's how you will give her happiness. So she will be like, okay, alright, this is because of this. Now she feels better because she can share. She sees that you're having empathy and you're being altruistic toward her. You're here for her. You're listening. And then you try to solve the problem with her. Most of the time, you will see that the problem will be entropy in her side. She interprets something about you which is not true. And that's what creates the problem. And so you will be like, oh, okay. So either she tells you directly, either you get it afterward. And then you will be like, oh, okay. The IHC, now you explain, no, actually this is how it's going. Verbal indication of happiness contained. So, well, this arrow should go here. The IHC up. You get it. Right? You see the pattern? You see the pattern of what's going on? So the fourth step will be the IHC, actually. And the IHC, either you do them in calibration before action, right? Either you do them in calibration after action, which means you have hit a block. It's not only about escalation. It's, for example, you approach woman in the street. A lot of time what will happen is that she will have a facial expression of confusion. She will look at you like this, confusion. And she doesn't talk back or whatever, and you don't really get what's going on. That's a block. That's a kind of block, right? There is entropy here first in your mind, but most likely in her mind as well. So now you want to investigate that in the situation. So meta comment, you talk about it. Either you've attained a level of understanding of the psychology of this situation so that you know how to fix it. So you don't even need to make a meta comment. You just know how to fix it. But this is pretty advanced, right? Either the easy way to do it is just meta comment. You make a meta comment. So now she tells you why she has this confused look. And then you can try to fix it. So you try to go into the IHC that you create on the spot. It's basically what's going to happen all the time. That's the sequence that will happen. And while you have to alternate between calibration before action and after action, not only for your happiness, but for their happiness. So you see there is a first moment of polarity of calibration before action and after action, which doesn't take into account their happiness, just takes into account the fact of unpolarizing yourself. Once this is done, you will look at those calibration before action and after action from a new angle. Look at it this way. The first one at the step 2 that you meet, if you look at this graph, at this map, it would be a polarity which is here in a weak altruism, and you want to get out of this. Now, in the fourth step, when you're here, you're alternating between before action and after action, but from the altruistic, powerful place. So this is the same polarity, but not coming from the same state, and so it will not have the same, you will not alternate it the same way. The first time you alternate them depending on your state, the second time you alternate them depending on her state. And so what it means, this alternation, is that, for example, you're not going to understand this video like, okay, so I just go and I escalate, and every time there is a block, I meta comment, and then I VHC and I keep escalating. No, because maybe the block is just that your escalation is not sexually arousing. Your escalation is she has parasite thought or whatever reason. So maybe the block is basically in the escalation. Maybe this is the way you escalate, which is creating it. In this case, well, there's no point in just trying to do it. In this point, you will just have to go back down previous levels, 1, 2, 3, where you get more controlled circulation. So you get less psychological parasite thoughts. You get more happiness. You get more psychological contraction. So you have more ability to actually interact in a way that creates actual sexual arousal. And from there, when you escalate, it works. Maybe if there is a block when you escalate, it's just that the escalation is not well made. So because of this, it doesn't make sense to just interpret it like, okay, I will just escalate and there is a block, I meta comment and VHC. No, there's no point, because this strategy doesn't take into account the full picture of what's going on. This strategy might be what we call a catch-22. Using this strategy is what creates the block, right? And why would it create a block? Because actually, when you're doing that, what it means is that your strategy is not to enjoy the escalation, but to escalate just for the sake of it, which is not what we've seen in this product. You see? We've seen that escalation has to happen in the context of creating sexual arousal for her and for you. So this strategy of I just escalate and blah, blah, blah is not what we've seen in this product. It's not harmonized with all the parameters of this course. So this would not be a strategy that would have any meaning in this course. It's more complex than that. It's not that simple. This sketch that we just drew here, it has to be understood in all the complexity that's behind it. It has to not be simplified. It's simple steps, but there is complexity behind. It's born from complexity. It has to be taken into account. Well, before ending it, let's put that in the context of actually approaching a woman, a new woman. right? This would work with a woman that you're dating multiple times, but let's put it in the context of approaching a new woman. Because in the context of approaching a woman, there is actually some elements that will come back again and again, and that I can list for you right now, and that you will be able to use as calibration before action, because you know it will come, because I will tell you. You know what? I will put them under this video. It will be simpler like this. It will be like a checklist of the things that you need to make sure are there. For example, the basics are that you will approach a woman, right? And she will misinterpret why you approach her, so she will look confused, or either she will be shocked that something like this happened to her because she's happy about it, but she's just shocked, she doesn't know what to do. And in both those cases, it would be good to just start the conversation and ask her questions. Have at least one, two, three interaction before starting a meta comment. Before in this situation, maybe what she needs is just a bit of momentum to understand what's going on. And in this case, it would be optimized to, instead of making a meta comment from the start, just starting a bit the conversation, and then one, two, three. If she still has this confused look, now you can make meta comment. Or maybe she will not trust you, right? She will just not trust you. And as well, this is why it's important to have a sexual attitude, a sexual behavior from the start, and or actually start your interaction and your approach by precisely clearing entropy. That will be your opener. To me, an opener is just this, a line that you will say when you arrive to clear entropy, so that she knows what's going on, and then you can start the conversation. That's why you would like to have an opener. Don't memorize the openers. Just think about it this way. Your goal is to get in the conversation and do that. What we've seen, start conversation, exchanging about your maps of identity, escalation, and building this system that we've seen. That's what you want. However, for that, there needs to be as little entropy as possible, right? Now, calibration before action, you know that entropy will happen when you will approach, so you will start by clearing entropy. You arrive and you explain why you're here. For example, a very common way of doing it, you walk up to a woman and you just start with a compliment. Simple way, very simple way. So she knows why you're coming to talk to her. Now you can start talking in any way you want. We've seen it in the course. And because you will have polarized your mind in the right way before approaching, it will be very natural how to do it, you will see. Your mind will produce the right stuff by itself. But anyway, what's really cool, and the reason why I think this is really well made, all of this, and I'm really proud of this system, is that those problematic that you will encounter when you approach a woman, actually doing the happiness hub, so having a big smile, having a sexual behavior from the start, talking loud, etc., is going to clear up those problematics. And also this part about what to do before approaching. When you polarize your mind in this way, it will make you approach in a way that you will actually lead the interaction. You will have a smile by default. You will see it without even having to force it, etc. It will completely balance all the problematic. It will clear up most of the problematic that you might face. So for the rest, you just have to apply this. Every problem will disappear by itself just by doing that. It's very simple. The last question you may be asking yourself is, okay, right, the first part before interaction, the polarization of the good creative lead in the mind. I told you that you have to keep working on this as well while you're in the interaction. If possible, if you have enough level of consciousness, you can always have more consciousness. If you really have a lot of consciousness at some point, all of this, you will be able to do it instantly while interacting, and you'll be like, what, that's it? This is so easy? Isn't there anything else I could do? Because now I'm getting bored, actually. So never think, well, it's too complicated, too complex, it's impossible to think about all those things at the same time. It builds up with time. But the question you may be asking yourself is, okay, I have to keep doing it in parallel. But at which point? Because here, we say there is step 1, 2, 3. I'm in the interaction. It's not in my head. I have to do stuff. Where do I put this in? And actually, well, you will put it at the same place as going to the root of the resistance. Going to the root of the resistance is about unpolarizing yourself, right? Unpolarizing. And then you will have polarizing yourself in the right way. So as you're talking, exactly like when you're doing it in your head, you would have in parallel of the interaction pictures, movies about them being nice, reacting well, even if it's not the case. That's how you will perceive them. You will proactively have this in your mind and thinking, if it was the case, how would I react? So you will have multiple interactions in parallel in your mind. That's possible, really. You will see when you're in your interaction, if you apply what you've seen in this course, you will see how much consciousness is being built in your mind. You will see it becomes easy at some point. Good reaction, good interpretation, that's the most important one in your interaction. Like, well, how could I interpret what's going on differently? How could I interpret what I did in a way that is good, actually? I did this, I think it's shit, but what interpretation could I find through which it's actually a good thing? It makes me look high status, whatever. And the good thing you're getting out of the situation. Basically, it will just help you to stay fucking harmonized in yourself, not starting to have internal conflict. And so this is at the same step that getting to the root of resistance. So before interaction, this part will be the one you focus on. But when you're in an interaction, it goes back on the background and you wait for step 3. When you have enough consciousness for step 3 to bringing it back into your focus, into your awareness. Well, and with that, now you have pretty much everything inside this map of the interaction. Now, in terms of what you say when you approach, well, look at it this way. You know what? We will take back the chess game. Okay, look at it this way. What makes an approach work or not is not how you do it, is not what angle you take, is not... It has almost nothing to do with that. What makes an approach work is what we call your vibe. It's your vibe. It's instantaneous. When she will hear your voice and look at you, she will have a sense of what you're about instantly, no matter what you say or what you do. Okay? And this is what you have to focus on. This is what will make an approach work or not. And if you ask women, the word they will use, women will say, usually I reject every man who walk up to me. But with you it was different. They will say something like this. You will say, what's different? And they will say, your energy. I liked your energy. I heard it so many times. You had a very good energy. They will say energy. I don't know where it comes from. Energy. They say you have good energy. I prefer to say you have a good vibe. You have a good vibe that people like. This is what will make an approach work or not. However, there is some ways to optimize it. Not only optimize the perception that the woman has of you, but also optimize your vibe. How to make your vibe better by your action. Because how do you get a good vibe? Well, it's by actions. May it be in your mind, may it be just your thought or your actions themselves. This is why you should train at first with the basic type of approaching, which is just having a fucking smile on your face. Well, we talked about it, basically happiness hubs, but it would be like with chess. There is some openers in chess that everybody use at the beginning and that you need to learn, which basically look something like this. You want to get to the center and he will come here, okay, right, for example, and then shit will happen. You will go like this or whatever. It always looks something like this. Or you will do that. Oops, not in the right place. Or you will do that or whatever. But it will always look very similar. The beginning will be like this, right? In the same way, with approaching people, there is some main ways that actually most people end up doing because it's the most natural way of doing it and it makes sense and it's simple. It's to do what I told you. To open by clearing up entropy, by making a compliment. You walk up to a woman, as much as you can, you do the happiness hub. The most important being having a big smile on your face. Forcing yourself to have a big smile when you're talking, when you approach. Even if you look fucking stupid, it will help you. It will help you to build some form of Spartan state, some form of clown state, to show that you're willing to be nice. So it will have a lot of good consequences. And you just explain why you're here. Maybe the first time you will do it, it will look pathetic. but whatever, it's part of the game. And actually, if you do what you have to do before approaching and you polarize it in the right way, it will not look pathetic, it will look amazing. Trust me, if you polarize your mind this way, it will work. But then, well, the first time you will approach, you will want to just do that. Walk up to a woman, explain why you're here, explain with however word you want that you're attracted to her, that you think she's attractive, and you want to see where it can go, right? Very simple way of doing it. Don't start with fancy stuff, just learn to do the basic way of starting, like this up, basic way, and you learn the more natural way of opening, maybe that or everything else. But then what happens is that when you get a bit of training with that, you don't get training just with the way that you've done it. No, you get an overall training with all the dynamics. This is a holistic training, which means that you're not getting experience with the moves that you're doing, but through those moves, you're getting experience with the entire game, right? So the more it goes, the more you will be able to start fancy ways of starting conversation. And the more it will go, the more you will not need any specific way of starting conversation. You will be able to approach women by literally saying anything, as say the men that you must know who are successful, and say, hey, just say anything. It will happen. Exactly like with chess, you will be able to be like, okay, well, the beginning doesn't matter that much. It's more what I do about it. Hey, calibration after action, remember? So I can even do the worst move ever. I can do shit moves. And whatever, the beginning is not important. What's important is what I make of it. Moreover, your mind will be polarized in the right way by the first set of exercises. And so, well, you'll just open like, I don't even want to give you examples. You will just discover by yourself. You will discover by yourself how you will end up approaching. But that's the rule I can give you. Start in a simple way. Just open by clearing the potential entropy. So explaining why you're here. Then you start going. Then you apply everything from the course, right? And then with time, you will start way more fancy ways of starting conversation. And what will be cool is that you will see that no matter how you start, the same pattern at the end will come in the conversation. You will see you will end up with the same pattern at some point. You start completely differently, but you will see the same pattern. So you will be like, well, I don't need any specific way of starting it. Now, in order to finish with this product, we need the last part, which is what you do after you've approached. After every single interaction, you will have to do something which will make your evolution exponential and will allow you to not lose your time with failed approaches, which doesn't make you better. Every single interaction you will have will make you fucking better. Very fast. It will be very fast. You will evolve very, very fast. So well, see you on that video.